I called you before, but the noise of your worries drowned out my voice. I called you a second time when you thought I had already given up, and yet you hid in the silence of your doubts. Now, for the third time, I come to you, not to condemn you, but to remind you that the time of waiting is over. There is something I have released in your name, and all of heaven moves so that you may receive what belongs to you. It is not chance, it is purpose. It is not coincidence, it is an answer. You have been brought to this moment because the clock of the Spirit has marked the exact instant when your soul was ready to hear again. I saw when weariness overwhelmed your heart, and you tried to continue with only the strength of your hands. I saw the nights you struggled to believe, even without seeing any sign. Every tear that fell was counted, and every silent thought of giving up was transformed into prayer before me. I never left you alone. When you were silent, I spoke through the circumstances. When you doubted, I enveloped you in signs you ignored for fear of believing again. Now I speak to you again, and this time I want you to know, nothing you have lived through was in vain. Every pain had a reason, every delay had a purpose, and every silence was a preparation. You were shaped for this moment, and this moment is sacred. Don't look to the past thinking you wasted opportunities. I am the God who transforms losses into paths, and what seemed closed will become the starting point. You feel your heart beating faster because my spirit is touching you. It's not emotion, it's presence. I am here, and this is the third time I call you because there is still something that needs to blossom within you. There are promises waiting only for your decision to believe. There are doors that have already been unlocked but remain closed because you are afraid to cross them. Trust in me and take the step. When you move by faith, heaven will move with you. Do not let guilt, shame hold you back. There is nothing I cannot restore. What is broken, I mend. What is lost, I return. What is dead, I resurrect. The third time is not insistence, it is mercy. It is love that does not give up until it sees you whole. And while you hear this word, something invisible is happening. Chains being broken, memories being healed, and the weight you carried beginning to lift. Do not fear this emptiness. It is the space where the new will begin to be born. Now is the time to open your heart and respond. You have not been forgotten, you have been reserved. What the enemy tried to delay is being released before you. Heaven awaits only your response, and your response is faith. Your faith doesn't need to be great, it needs to be sincere. Just believe, and you will see what I have prepared from the beginning. He comments, I receive what heaven has released in my name. This is your covenant with me, your first step towards a new beginning. When you declare with faith, what was held back begins to move, and what was distant begins to draw near. I have called you 3 times, and now is the time to answer. The time for doubt is over. Enter into the new that I have already opened before you. I never lost track of you. While you believed I was far away, I watched you in silence, guiding your steps along the paths you thought were wrong. When you lay exhausted, thinking no one saw you, I was there. When you looked around and found only absence, I was closer than your own breath. Heaven was never confused about where you were. It only waited for the exact moment when your heart would become sensitive enough to feel me again. Now, that moment has arrived. It wasn't chance that brought you here. It was the perfect timing I planned from the beginning. Each detour brought you back to the path I prepared. While you walked in circles, thinking your efforts were useless, I was preparing the encounter between your weariness and my presence. Every tear that fell was not forgotten. It was planted as a seed of new beginnings. Your days of silence were days of healing because I needed to heal what prevented you from hearing. There are things you only understand when everything around you is silent, and it was in your desert that I found you. The desert didn't kill you, it only taught you to depend. And now that you understand the value of emptiness, I can fill the space with what truly belongs to you. You believed you were forgotten, but you were merely protected. I shielded you from doors that seemed like opportunities, but were traps. Delays you lamented were deliverances you didn't realize. I didn't lose control when everything seemed to crumble. I was guiding you to the exact point where promise and preparation meet. There are paths only I can trace, and even when you stray, my love redirects you. No one can hide from what I have chosen to bless, and I have chosen to bless you. You were found because you are part of a purpose that cannot be postponed. The time for lamenting is over. The time for looking at the past with regret is over. What hurt you no longer defines you. The scars you carry are proof of survival, not signs of defeat. While you thought I was silent, I was teaching you to recognize the sound of my voice within you. Now, heaven moves toward you with the force of restitution. I am activating ancient promises, reopening paths, and placing specific people in your journey. Everything that seemed confusing will begin to make sense. Nothing was wasted. Even the mistakes served as raw material for your spiritual maturity. What you once called failure will now be the testimony that opens doors, and the emptiness that frightened you will become fertile ground for new things to flourish. I am transforming your waiting into harvest, your pain into direction, and your silence into testimony. You were found not to relive the past, but to begin a new story with me. The time of hiding is over. I found you, and where there is presence, there is movement. Share this message with someone who needs to remember that heaven still speaks. When you share what you receive, you multiply grace. There are hearts waiting for the same confirmation that now touches yours. I have located you not only to restore your faith, but to make you a channel. Wherever you go, my voice will echo. Wherever you speak, hope will be reborn. And when you remember this moment, you will know, I never lost you. I only waited for the right moment to find you again. The time you've been waiting for isn't just coming. It has already begun. Heaven's clock is ticking, and the hand of promise has just turned toward you. While the world rushes by, unsure of where it's going, I prepare the precise moment for each turning point. Nothing in me is delayed. Nothing is lost when you trust. There are hours that men don't recognize, but the Spirit feels when God's time awakens. This is your moment. There is no coincidence. There is alignment. Everything that seemed still is now adjusting to my order. The spiritual clock has begun to tick, and those who have ears to hear will perceive the gentle sound of fulfillment. You thought you had missed opportunities, but I am the Lord of time, and time obeys me. What is gone is not loss, it is preparation. The delay was merely the interval between your effort and my intervention. There is no need to rush, just walk at the pace of faith. When you walk with me, time ceases to be an enemy and becomes a witness to what I am doing. Every door that was once closed is now adjusted to open at the right moment. The clock does not mark the end, it marks the beginning of the harvest. You have reached the point where heaven and earth meet. Do you feel as if the air is different? It's a sign of the changing season. What once weighed you down begins to dissipate because I have removed what held you back. I am accelerating processes, removing invisible obstacles, and anticipating answers. When you listen to me, time speeds up without haste, and what would take years begins to sprout before you. Your faith is the trigger that moves the pointer, and each time you believe, a new gear turns in your favor. You don't need to force anything, just remain. Time is not against you, it works with me. Everything that was held back begins to flow, and what seemed distant draws near. What was confusing now makes sense. The signs are everywhere, people crossing your path without explanation, words that touch your soul precisely, sensations you cannot explain. I orchestrate everything. Don't lose focus, because while your mind is distracted, time advances silently. The moment you've been waiting for is now, not tomorrow, not later, now. The spiritual clock doesn't move by chance. It responds to the sound of my will, and it is being declared over you at this very moment. Do not fear the speed of what is to come. I do not rush you to tire you. I awaken you to align you. There are blessings that only manifest when you rise and say, I am ready. Fear tries to delay you, but faith pushes you toward the future that has already been written. When the clock hand moves, it is because I have already walked ahead of you. What you see as time is merely a translation of the eternity that dwells within me, and this eternity now touches your story. Every passing second is an invitation to remain in me. This is the exact moment the promise is activated. Angels are at work, destinies are being aligned, hearts are being guided to you. The coincidences you will see are not chance. They are the echo of my precision. The clock strikes because the time has come. Don't let doubt make you waste this instant. Open your heart, take a deep breath, and feel the presence that now surrounds you. The waiting time is over. The time to fulfill has begun. Clicking like and subscribing is an act of faith and abiding in my presence. When you do this, you spiritually seal your decision to walk with me. This simple gesture is your yes before heaven. And as you remain, the sound of the spiritual clock will continue to echo within you, reminding you that nothing is out of place, nothing is late, and nothing will be lost. You are in the right time, in the right place, and before the God who makes time serve the promise. The clock has begun to tick, and each tick is a confirmation. What I promised you is underway. I was there when you chose silence. I saw when your faith grew weary of waiting and your lips fell silent. I heard the prayers that resided only in your thoughts, those that never left your mouth for fear of not being answered. While the world pushed you toward haste, I called you to rest. And when you hid from me, you did so not out of malice, but out of pain. You tried to silence the sound of heaven within you, but it never stopped. Because even when your voice is silent, your spirit still recognizes me. You thought I had given up on speaking to you. You thought that time and mistakes had distanced me. But I am not a man to give up when the hearts of my children close. I am the God who waits outside, knocking patiently until your soul decides to open. What prevented you from hearing was not distance, it was fear. Fear of feeling again, fear of waiting again, fear of believing and being disappointed. But fear is no match for my love. And that is why I speak to you again, with the same voice that sought you in childhood, that called you in days of weakness, and that now whispers amidst your chaos. I never stopped looking for you. I found you in every attempt you made to go on without me. In every achievement that didn't satisfy you, I watched you in silence, waiting for you to realize that nothing in this world fills the space I created within you. You surrounded yourself with human voices, but none brought peace, because your soul recognizes the sound of its creator. And even though you tried to ignore it, I continued speaking through the details. I spoke in the coincidences, in the tears you didn't understand, in the doors that closed when everything seemed right. I used time and circumstances to teach you that the sound of heaven cannot be silenced. There is a divine frequency that pulses within you, and even when you distance yourself, it continues to vibrate. It calls you back, like a melody that doesn't forget its lyrics. When the world tries to stifle my sound, it only amplifies the desire to hear me. Your restlessness was a sign that I was still near. Each sleepless night, each unexplained emptiness was the echo of my voice asking for space to enter. You don't get lost when you distance yourself. You only lose the clarity to perceive me. But I never left the place where I waited for you. Today, I restore the sound of my presence within you. It will not be as before, it will be deeper. Your spiritual sensitivity is being awakened again. What seemed silent is vibrating again, and you will once more recognize my touches, my answers, and my signs. You don't need formulas to hear me, you need silence. My voice does not compete with noise, it reveals itself in stillness. Close your eyes and perceive. While everyone sleeps, I am still speaking to you. The sound you ignored so many times continues to play. It's proof that I never stopped believing you would listen to me again. There is no distance my love cannot cross, nor sin that can erase what I wrote about you. What I said still stands. What I promised remains valid. None of your mistakes were strong enough to make me give up. When you give up, I continue. When you doubt, I persist. When you are silent, I embrace you until your heart responds again. I didn't come to demand answers from you. I only came to remind you that your story is still being told by my voice. It didn't stop at your mistake, nor did it end in your silence. It only paused until your spirit could hear again. Now that moment has arrived. Let the sound of heaven find you once more. It doesn't come with noise, it comes with peace. It is gentle, yet powerful. It is simple, yet eternal. It reaches you because you were made to recognize it. What is about to happen in your life will be like a perfect symphony. Every lost note will return to its place, and what seemed like noise will transform into harmony. I haven't stopped speaking. You just needed to relearn how to listen. Now that you hear me, everything will begin to align, and you will know that even in silence, I have always been here. This is the third time I've spoken to you, and each time I do, it's with more tenderness than before. I don't speak to you out of obligation, I speak out of love. My love doesn't tire, doesn't get offended, doesn't give up. I called you when everything was well, and also when everything collapsed. I was there on the days you said you believed, and also on the nights when your faith dissolved into fear. This is the third time I've extended my hand, not because you owe me something, but because I still believe in you. With each rejection, my love only grows stronger. And today, once again, all of heaven leans over you, offering a new chance to start over. Man grows weary of persisting, but divine love does not. You could run away 1,000 times, and each time I would still find you. Because your life is more precious than you think, and there is a plan that will not be cancelled just because you took a while to respond. The delay does not nullify the promise, it only prepares it. I call you for the third time because now your heart is ready. Before, you wanted to understand. Now, you only want to feel. And it is at this point that faith is born, when you stop seeking proof and begin to seek me. There is a tenderness that only reveals itself after the fall. I did not come to punish you for the times you ignored me. I came to heal the wounds that made you doubt. The love that reaches you now is not the love of the first invitation. It is mature love, patient love, the love that understands that your soul needed time. That is why I speak to you calmly, without haste, like one who speaks to a tired child. I know how much you tried to go on alone. I know of your frustrated attempts, the doors that did not open, the answers that never came. All of this was the perfect scenario for you to finally realize what you need is not outside, it is within me. This third time is more than a calling, it's a new beginning. What you didn't understand before, you will understand now. The words that once seemed distant now resonate deeply because your heart has become fertile. I prepared the ground with tears, and now the seed of promise can germinate. Do not fear the time that has passed, for time never delays me. Everything is within my plan, and what seemed lost, I have carefully gathered. Even your resignations served as a bridge to what I am about to do. You are not hearing just any message. You are participating in a spiritual movement. While you listen, invisible things are happening. Doors are opening. Chains are breaking. Your name is being mentioned before angels. I did not come to speak of religion. I came to remind you of the relationship we began long ago, a relationship the world tried to erase. What began between us never ended. It merely lay dormant. And now I awaken this bond with power and tenderness. There is a holy urgency in this moment. I'm not speaking to frighten you, but to awaken you, because there are blessings that only manifest when the heart says yes. The third time is symbolic. It represents the boundary between resistance and surrender. When you decide to listen, heaven moves. And now, heaven is in motion because of you. The angels who guard you have been instructed to act, and nothing can stop what is about to be released. What was a blockage will become a path, and what was doubt will become certainty. Write 7,777 if you believe that this is the time to live out the perfection of my will. This simple act is more than a number. It is a seal of faith. It is your response to my insistence. Each 7 represents completeness, and by writing it, you declare that you accept the complete cycle, the past forgiven, the present restored, and the future blessed. I no longer call you to remind you of your mistakes, but to affirm what awaits you. The third time is the symbol of love overcoming resistance. And when you say yes, I don't just speak, I act. The whole of heaven moves because you have finally heard me with your heart. This is the final call before a new beginning. I don't say this to instill fear, but to awaken what has fallen asleep within you. There are times when love needs to raise its voice so that the heart may awaken, and that is what is happening now. I called you amidst joy, and you did not hear me. I sought you amidst pain, and you were distracted by your wounds. Now I find you amidst weariness and the desire for change. And it is at this point that the miracle happens, when the soul surrenders and the spirit finally listens. What once seemed distant draws near, and that which paralyzed you loses its power in my presence. This is the boundary between what was and what will be. It is the instant when everything changes because you chose to remain. I don't come to demand answers from you. I come to offer you direction. The time of uncertainty is ending. Heaven has already decreed the beginning of a new season for you, and there will be no more confusion. What was noise will become clarity. The voices that confused you will fall silent, and the only voice that will remain will be mine. You know that it is me you are speaking to now, because there is something within you that recognizes the origin of this sound. It doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. It is the same sound that guided you in the past, the same that protected you from wrong paths, the same that sustained you when you thought no one saw you. You are not facing a threat, you are facing an opportunity. This is the third time I have called you, and each time was a seed planted in your spirit. The first 2 fell on the soil of fear, but this one falls on the ground of faith. The time for escape is over. What held you back no longer has power over you. Now is the time to move forward, because the new only begins when you accept letting the old die. And there is nothing to fear. What awaits you is lighter than what you leave behind. What I prepare never comes to destroy, it comes to restore. Perhaps you can't see it yet, but heaven is in motion. Angels are positioning themselves, paths are being traced, hearts are being prepared to cross yours. Everything that seemed still is about to align, and what you considered the end, I call transition. The last minute is, in fact, the first step. The time to start again is not tomorrow, it's now. Don't wait for the right moment, because the right moment has arrived. The countdown is not a threat, it's a warning that the spiritual clock has started ticking. I don't want you to live on alert, I want you to live awake. The difference is that the alert person fears, but the awakened person trusts. And it is this trust that I invite you to practice. You don't need more signs, you just need to respond. The new beginning you hope for depends on your surrender. When you say yes, you will see what it means to have heaven on your side. Everything changes when you stop running and choose to remain. Faith doesn't ask you to hurry, it asks you to have courage. And courage is continuing even without understanding. What you are feeling now is my touch restoring your inner self. It is the certainty that even after so many comings and goings, I never abandoned you. Every mistake was a lesson, every fall was a way to teach you to recognize me. There is no waste when the heart turns to me. The time you thought was lost will be returned with multiplied purpose. I am an expert at rewriting stories, and yours is about to be rewritten before my eyes. Share this message with someone who has lost hope, because when the light reaches you, it should also reach others. This is the divine cycle. You receive, and then you become an instrument. When you share what comes from heaven, you open space for more to come upon you. What I give you today is not a simple message. It is a mantle of restoration. Take it with you and clothe it in faith. When you share it, the same presence that touches you now will touch those who hear. And when you return to this place, you will realize that the last call was not a warning of the end, but the announcement of a new beginning. There is something written in my book that bears your name. Before you were born, I had already prepared that which is now beginning to manifest. It is not just any blessing, it is a deposit enshrined in heaven, reserved for the time when your heart is ready to receive it. That time is now. What was a promise begins to become reality. It is not by merit, but by grace. Your name was engraved in an eternal purpose, and no opposing force has been able to erase it. You were chosen, and what is yours cannot be transferred. This is the moment when the invisible becomes tangible, what was written becomes lived, and what seemed distant begins to draw near. Everything you have faced was not punishment, it was preparation. Every delay was alignment, every loss was a repositioning. I was patiently drawing the path that would bring you here. And now that you have reached the exact point in the plan, I open the spiritual vault that has always been reserved for you. Inside it are ancient promises, gifts you neglected, dreams you buried, and answers you thought were lost in time. Nothing was lost, everything was preserved. I kept what belonged to you on my altar, safe from human haste and disbelief. Now I release what was withheld. Don't be fooled into thinking the treasure is material. The true treasure that bears your name is made of destiny, faith, authority, and purpose. There is something within you that will be activated at this moment. Gifts that lay dormant, strength that seemed extinguished, courage that seemed forgotten. I breathe upon what was inert, and it begins to breathe again. What once required effort will now flow naturally. Everything that was interrupted by doubt will be restored by obedience. Your yes will open doors that human strength could never move. The deposit is not merely an individual promise, it is a spiritual legacy. Your obedience will change trajectories, and your faith will open paths for others who still walk in darkness. You were called to be a channel, not just a recipient. What I place in your hands does not end with you. It passes through you to reach lives. That is why I prepared you with such zeal. The difficult paths were training to carry the inheritance. The deserts taught you to value the rain, and the absences taught you to recognize my presence. Everything was necessary so that you would not confuse the treasure with gold. What I give you is not something the world can steal. Now, as you listen to these words, something is shifting in the atmosphere. Promises that were stagnant are beginning to move. You will feel peace, and that peace will be the sign that the deposit has been released. It is not a fleeting feeling. It is the inner witness that heaven has acted. Let faith fill the space that fear occupied. The deposit is released, but it is your trust that manifests it in the natural. Everything you need will come to you without you having to run, because whoever bears my name does not pursue blessings, he attracts them. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. My signature upon you is enough. Those who doubted will see what I will do, not as a form of revenge, but as a testament to what happens when someone decides to trust in me. I will make you a showcase of my faithfulness. The time for surviving is over. Now begins the time for bearing fruit. And every time you look back, you will realize that each step was orchestrated by me until the moment the deposit manifested itself. Clicking like and subscribing is an act of faith and commitment to me. This simple gesture seals the pact between what I say and what you choose to believe. It is your visible response to an invisible promise. And when you do this, heaven will confirm what has been given to you. The treasure that bears your name is already active. Live from it. Walk with the certainty that nothing has been lost and that everything I have kept for you is now being restored before my eyes. Something is happening right now, even if your eyes don't yet perceive it. As you listen to this message, the heavens are in motion. Invisible chains are being broken, spiritual contracts are being rewritten, and ancient promises are beginning to take shape in the present moment. This is the instant when what was only words begins to become life. What was once just a promise is now activation. What was once expectation is now fulfillment. A transfer is taking place, and you are at its center. You are not merely listening, you are participating in a movement. I move the heavens when your heart aligns. Each of your breaths connects to the rhythm of my spirit. What was stagnant begins to flow, what was trapped begins to be released. This is the time when the invisible and the visible meet, and what was beyond your comprehension becomes palpable. It is not emotion, it is manifestation. It is the sound of fulfillment echoing within you. Angels move around. Celestial messengers adjust details your eyes cannot see. People, places, and opportunities begin to reposition themselves like pieces on a divine chessboard. Everything aligns to fulfill what I have determined. The delay you thought was punishment was merely a time of adjustment. I awaited the moment when your faith would mature enough to sustain what I promised you. Now faith is ready, and heaven responds. Nothing prepared for you will remain trapped. The transfer has begun, and no one can stop it. Do you feel that slight shiver, that peace that fills your chest? That is the sign of my presence, confirming that the movement is real. There is a change in atmosphere, and your name is being mentioned in places where you never imagined being remembered. What I am preparing does not depend on the permission of men, but on your willingness to trust. Everything you lost through doubt or distraction is being returned twofold, because faith always attracts restitution. The transfer is complete when you trust. While you remain anxious, the flow is hindered. But when you rest, the flow intensifies. Learn the rhythm of heaven. It doesn't rush, it flows. The miracle doesn't impose itself, it happens. I don't rush you, I align you. There are blessings that only manifest when your surrender is total. And your surrender begins the moment you stop trying to control what is already in my hands. Every time you resist, the promise waits. Every time you trust, it draws near. Now, what once seemed unattainable is already within your spiritual realm. The deposit I released in your name is beginning to be transferred from promise to reality. You will feel it in the coming days. Unexpected opportunities, answers that arrive through improbable paths, and a peace that will not come from circumstances, but from the certainty that heaven is active. Nothing will stop you from living what I have determined. The voices that said, "It's too late," will be silenced, and the doors that seemed locked will open effortlessly. What belongs to you will find its way back to you. Spiritual transference does not follow human logic. It follows the command of faith. And I tell you, the command has been given. Everything is moving. Stay alert. From now on, you will begin to notice the difference. The weight will lessen, the direction will become clearer, and your mind will rest as it hasn't rested in a long time. What you feel is not just comfort, it's transformation in progress. Don't question the process, just experience the miracle. The invisible works faster than you imagine. What began in the spirit will soon be revealed in your reality. Nothing you are experiencing is a coincidence. This is the direct result of what has been released upon you. The transfer is underway, and the flow will not be interrupted. Your part is to remain, trust, and believe. And while you do this, I continue to work. What I have begun, I myself will complete. Heaven moves, and you move with it. Now, what was once a promise becomes evidence. Heaven confirms what it has released upon you, and your spirit begins to witness what your eyes cannot yet see. The confirmation does not come with noise or external signs. It comes with a profound peace that takes over everything within you. This is how the supernatural manifests itself, not as spectacle, but as certainty. What you feel now is the touch of the eternal upon your time. Every cell of your body responds to the presence. Every thought aligns with my will, and every fear begins to lose its power. What I have said, I fulfill, and what I have begun to move in your favor has already been established. I leave you in no doubt. Doubt is noise, and my sound is gentle. When the heart learns to hear me, it recognizes when the promise is fulfilled. You don't need to see to believe. Believe, and then you will see. What once seemed distant is already working within you. The transformation begins in the invisible and expands to what is visible. You will be the first witness of what my power is generating, and the people around you will see the reflection of what is being confirmed now. When they ask what has changed, you will not know how to explain. You will only feel that something has been realigned. There are confirmations that don't come through words, but through feeling. This calm that overwhelms you is not a coincidence, it's the sign. It's heaven saying, "It is already done. I sign what I promised, and the seal of my faithfulness is the peace I leave with you." The time for questioning is over. Now is the time to live. The promise ceases to be hope and becomes spiritual reality. What I have given you is not fleeting, it is permanent. What has been opened will not be closed, and what has been activated will not sleep again. The heavenly deposit has been transferred, and now the confirmation accompanies you in everything you do. I will make you perceive small signs of what is already being manifested. People who previously distanced themselves will return with words of reconciliation. Doors that remained locked for months will unlock naturally. The environment around you will change, because what I transform within you also changes what is outside. The blessing I released is not isolated. It has the power to touch everything connected to you. The favor that covers you now will extend to your home, your work, your decisions. The confirmation spreads like light, and nothing resists the light. Do you feel this warmth in your chest, this lightness that takes over your mind? This is the testimony of the Spirit within you. It is the divine seal, saying that the promise is no longer just words, it is presence. I don't speak to evoke emotion, I speak to transform. Each phrase you heard was a key that opened something within you. You don't realize it, but spiritual portals are opening while your heart quiets down. And it is in this reverent silence that the confirmation is complete. Now you know, I fulfill what I promise. Don't look for signs outside. The greatest sign is within you. Mature faith doesn't need proof. It is sustained by the voice that recognizes it. You have heard what you needed to hear, and from here on out, nothing will be the same. What once seemed fragile becomes firm, and what was uncertain becomes conviction. This is the moment when your faith ceases to be expectation and becomes experience. What I have released is yours, and what is yours will remain. Tap like if this word confirms what your spirit already felt. This gesture is more than a click. It's an amen in the form of an attitude. It's your visible seal saying to heaven, I believe. When you act in faith, you participate in what heaven is doing. And by confirming with your heart and with your gesture, you seal this revelation upon your life. From now on, you will live as one who carries a fulfilled promise, and every time doubt tries to return, this peace will be your reminder that it has already happened. What I have begun, no one can interrupt. And what I have released today will remain with you until the end. The clock of grace has begun to tick. This is not the sound of the end, it is the sound of the beginning. It is the loving warning that the exact moment has arrived when heaven and earth align to fulfill what has been promised. I am not calling you to hurry, but to awaken you. There are things that have been prepared for a long time and that can only be released now, at this instant. The clock of grace does not mark condemnation, it marks opportunity. Every passing second is an invitation from my love saying, there is still time. You were prepared for this moment, even if you don't know it. Every pain matured you, every weight shaped you, and every loss positioned you. What seemed like a delay to you was only me holding back time until you were ready to sustain what was to come. Now, the sound of the spiritual clock echoes within you. It is the sign that the time of hiding is over. The promise that was incubating begins to break. This moment is sacred because it represents the exact point where your story and my will meet. Don't let fear make you lose your rhythm. Fear makes you look back, but faith pushes you toward the new. You weren't called to repeat cycles, you were chosen to break them. The sound you hear is not a threat, it's motete, mercy. Every beat of the celestial clock is my heart calling yours. And I tell you, there is still space, there is still grace, there is still a way. What I have for you has not been given to anyone else, because it bears your name, your story, and your scars. They don't diminish you, they authenticate you. The time to hide what you've lived through is over. Now is the time to let what I have done shine through you. There is an acceleration happening. Things that would take months will be resolved in days. Stalled situations will begin to move smoothly. What seemed impossible will begin to flow effortlessly, because grace has opened a path where there was previously resistance. I don't ask you to understand, only to trust. Grace doesn't depend on merit, it depends on surrender. and you are facing the clock that never errs, because heaven's timing is always perfect. The appointed hour has arrived. As you listen, there is movement in the invisible. Angels are positioning answers, doors are being unlocked, names are being remembered before me. You are among them. Promises have been suspended, waiting for the striking of this clock, and now the sound resonates. It is the sign that the cycle has changed. Nothing will ever be the same again. The past ceases to be a burden and becomes a testimony. This is not the end of anything, it is the beginning of everything. The clock of grace strikes not to close one stage, but to inaugurate a new time. Therefore, I call you to act in faith, to respond promptly, not to let fear paralyze you again. Your time is now. What I am doing in you will not be repeated in the same way tomorrow. Each tick represents a unique invitation, and I want you to accept it before silence returns. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of completion, the moment when time is fulfilled. There is a lightness hovering over you, and that is the sign of my presence. Let it guide you. Do not question the rhythm, simply follow it. My grace is the clock that never runs late, and while it ticks, I prepare the scene for your miracle. Share this message with someone who needs to hear that the time of grace is still running. When you do this, you become an extension of my movement. Each person you reach is another heart, awakened to the sound of the celestial clock. Grace is not to be kept, it is to be multiplied. And as you share, I also increase favor and discernment upon you. The sound of the clock is not the end, it is the beginning, and whoever responds to it never again lives outside of my time. Stay, not just for a moment, not just while you feel emotions, stay, because there is something that is only revealed to those who remain. Many hear my voice, but few decide to walk with it to the end. To remain is the true sign of mature faith. It is easy to believe when everything is new, but it is in constancy that the promise is fulfilled. I did not call you for a spiritual visit, I called you to an eternal covenant. I don't just want to be remembered on your good days. I want to be your refuge, even on the quiet days. I know how many times you started something with me and stopped halfway through. I know how frustrated you became when you didn't see quick results, but my actions were never immediate. They were perfect. The time that seems long to you is, for me, the exact time of maturation. When you persevere, you learn to recognize me even when nothing seems to change. And it is at this point that faith becomes unshakable. Faith that only endures while everything is clear is still faith at the beginning. Faith that seeks me even in darkness is the faith that transforms. To remain is not to stop, it is to move forward with a firm heart. It is not to be immobile, it is to walk confidently, even without understanding the map. I know that the path sometimes seems long, and that silence gives you the impression of abandonment. But silence is only the space where I teach my secrets. Those who stay, grow. Those who remain, flourish. What you do not understand today will be a testimony tomorrow, and what hurts now will be a strength tomorrow. Do not give up on your remaining, because your faithfulness is generating invisible fruits. You were not created to waver between faith and fear. You were made to remain. When you stand firm in me, nothing can shake you. The storms will not uproot you, they will only nourish you. The wind that comes against you only scatters the seeds of the purpose I carry within you. Remain, because what challenges you today will be the same thing that will lift you up tomorrow. I take care of every detail, even what you don't perceive. And while you remain, I work. While you trust, I mold. And while you wait, I fulfill. Do not be carried away by the rhythm of the world, which moves by haste and appearances. My time is made of purpose. Do not compare yourself to anyone, because your journey is unique. I do not call you to be fast. I call you to be steadfast. What begins quickly ends shallow. What is profound demands permanence. You are rooting your spirit in the source of eternity. When you remain, the seasons no longer shake you. Neither the heat of waiting nor the cold of uncertainty will drive you away. I want you constant, not perfect. I want you whole, not momentary. And that's why I'm speaking to you now, so that your heart doesn't waver when the emotion passes. When you feel nothing, remember what you feel now. I will still be here. The same God who touches you this instant will be the same one who sustains you tomorrow. My love doesn't change with time, it molds time. And each time you decide to remain, your spirit becomes more like mine. Abide in me, and you will see what instability would never allow you to see. There are promises that only blossom for those who stay. There are gifts that only reveal themselves when haste transforms into patience. Your constancy is your weapon, and your faithfulness is your shield. I don't want your enthusiasm for the day. I want your love every day. The presence you feel now is not fleeting. It is an invitation to a journey that never ends. Sign up and seal this moment as a prophetic act of remaining in my presence. This gesture is more than symbolic. It's a decision. It's your "I'll stay" before heaven. When you choose to remain, the world loses its power to drag you down, and faith begins to guide your steps. Don't be moved by emotion. Be moved by the certainty that you were called to something greater. I didn't bring you here only to leave you later. Stay, because while you remain, I continue to work, and whoever remains in me is never left behind, but is led to the end of the promise. Be silent now. Breathe. Let everything that distracts you dissolve for a moment. You don't need to say anything or ask for anything. My presence is already here. The sound of silence is where I reveal myself most deeply. While the world screams for answers, I speak in whispers. When everyone demands movement from you, I invite you to stop, because it is in stillness that your soul recognizes me. Silence is not absence, it is fullness. It is the space where your heart aligns with mine, where the invisible becomes real and the impossible begins to happen. For so long, you associated silence with distance. You thought that when I didn't speak, it was because I had moved away. But I have never been so close. Silence is the sound of my work. It is the pause between one season and another, the interval in which the miracle is formed. When everything seems still, it is because heaven is under construction. I don't shout, because what is eternal doesn't need volume, it needs attention. And it is this attention that I ask of you now. Listen to what the silence is saying. It carries my voice in every beat of your heart. Silence is the place where your prayers become answers. It's where doubts lose their power, where fear calms down and hope breathes. It's where I exchange your anxiety for direction. When you learn to rest in me, you realize that the lack of sound is, in fact, an invisible symphony. It's heaven moving the pieces without you needing to understand how. I know it's difficult to trust when there are no signs, but it's in this kind of faith that your essence grows. Silence is the test of trust. And you are going through it now, not to be approved, but to be molded. There are times when silence heals more than any words. When everything within you craves noise, it's a sign that your inner self hasn't yet understood the power of peace. Peace is not the absence of battle. It's the awareness of my presence, even in the midst of war. When I close your mouth and calm your thoughts, it's because I want to show you that control was never yours. You don't need to solve anything, just remain. In silence, Your faith is purified, your heart is cleansed, and your soul breathes again. This is the space where I rest with you. The same God who acts with power is the one who sits beside you in silence to restore your soul. I didn't come just to change circumstances. I came to transform you. And the transformation begins when you stop fighting against what you don't understand. When you accept the silence, you allow my voice to echo from within. It is in the emptiness that I fill everything. It is in the pause that I rebuild. Every second of stillness you have experienced was a seed planted in the soil of patience, and now it begins to blossom into understanding. There is nothing wrong with not hearing words, because the absence of sound is not the absence of direction. Silence is the secret code of mature faith. In it, I communicate more than words. I communicate presence, and presence is all you need now. Don't look for signs, just feel. Close your eyes, let peace descend. Do you feel it? That gentle warmth, that serenity that covers you like a cloak, that is confirmation that you are exactly where you should be, within my silence, enveloped by my care. Stay a little longer, remain still before me, and let the divine reveal itself in simplicity. Silence is the temple of trust. It is here that I bring order to what was confused, healing to what was wounded, and purpose to what seemed lost. Do not rush time, enjoy the moment. While the world tries to fill the void, I transform it into a space of revelation. It is here that I make you sensitive, that I make you perceive what human eyes cannot see. Now, all is at peace. Heaven is calm, and so is your spirit. What seemed like a pause is merely breathing. What seemed like a delay is preparation. This silence is the beginning of a new dialogue between us, a dialogue without words, made only of presence. Here, in this instant, you and I speak the same language, the language of trust. And when you trust, you don't need sound to know that I am here. I have never been so close. There's a cycle that's repeated itself for years, and you know what it is. It has the shape of fear, the sound of doubt, and the bitter taste of almost. Every time you were about to experience something new, something pulled you back. It was like walking in circles. You moved forward for a while, but ended up back at square one. The same kind of pain, the same hurtful words, the same falls that seemed inevitable. I saw every attempt you made to break free from it. I saw the promises you made to yourself and couldn't keep. I saw the weariness of starting over without seeing change. And that's why I'm talking to you now. This is the time to break the cycle. You were not created to live trapped in repetition. You were made to evolve, grow, flourish. What repeats itself is not punishment. It's a sign. I allowed the pattern to return until you realized it no longer needed to dominate you. Each return to the same place was a chance to do things differently, but the weight of guilt and fear kept you paralyzed. Now I enter this story to break what seemed unbreakable. You will no longer fight alone. The cycle ends when your faith unites with my power. I am undoing the invisible chains that bound you to old mistakes and allowing you to walk freely towards a new time. The memories that tormented you are being healed. The voices that said, "You won't succeed," will be silenced by what I am about to do in you. What was once repetition will now become testimony. Because where there was once a fall, there will be perseverance. Where there was once fear, there will be courage. Where there was once despair, there will be faith. I am rewriting the spiritual pattern of your life. What once made you cry will now make you smile. What imprisoned you will now be your springboard. The same scenario that symbolized failure will be the stage for your victory. Notice what is happening within you right now. Your spirit feels the weight lifting, the air becoming lighter, your heart beating at a different rhythm. This is the sign that the breaking has begun. The cycle is not broken by force, it is broken by surrender. When you surrender control to me, the pattern dissolves. The enemy repeats what you have not yet been able to forgive, what you are still trying to resolve with your own hands. But I tell you, there is no liberation while you try to control what only my love can heal. Let me enter your repetitions. Let me remake what has held you captive for so long. The cycle ends because today you decide not to be the same. The forgiveness you couldn't release will be released now. The guilt that consumed you will be replaced by rest. The voice that told you you don't deserve it will be silenced by my grace. The time for repetition is over. The enemy only repeats what still finds an echo within you, but today that echo is silenced. My voice becomes the new sound that will fill your interior. From this moment on, everything that was once a pattern of failure will be transformed into evidence of my power. Don't be alarmed by the silence that will follow this liberation. It is a sign of rebirth. The body needs to adapt to the lightness. The spirit needs to learn what it is to live without the old weight. The people who distance themselves now will not abandon you. They are simply being repositioned. I am removing from your path what was causing you to stumble. Everything that fueled the repetition is being uprooted. There are cycles that end with tears, but these tears are of healing, not of pain. They cleanse the ground where the new will flourish. Listen, nothing I do is temporary. When I break a cycle, I don't leave loose ends. I close the door to the past and place a seal upon it. And that seal is called grace. Grace to start again, grace to move forward, grace to no longer look back. What once held you back now pushes you toward your destiny. You will be known as the one who broke what seemed eternal. I am transforming your story into a living testimony of my faithfulness. He comments, I break the cycle in the name of Jesus. This declaration is your act of faith. It is the cry of your spirit saying, enough. When you write with faith, heaven recognizes your decision, and hell loses the right to repeat what once dominated you. From this moment on, every time you try to return to the past, something within you will remind you that you have already been freed. The cycle has ended. What was once repeated now ends before my word. Your story is not a circle. It is a line that moves forward. And from here, I myself will guide you to live the new life I have already prepared. Faith is the key the enemy could never steal from you. You only let it rust from fear, weariness, and disappointments. But I say, today, it shines again in your hands. There are doors before you that were not locked. They were only waiting for the touch of your faith. Faith doesn't need strength, it needs trust. When you believe, heaven moves. When you doubt, heaven waits. And I have been waiting for your yes to unlock what has been held back for so long. How many times have you knocked on doors that didn't open and thought it was rejection? But silence isn't always denial. Sometimes it's just waiting for the right moment to believe. Every prayer you've made has been recorded, but what activates the answer is the step of faith. It's not how much you ask, it's how much you trust. You can't imagine how many things are prepared, ready, just waiting for your decision to believe. When you say, I trust, the spiritual universe reorganizes itself. I don't need explanations, I need surrender. And that's what I ask of you now. Believe again. Faith is not a feeling, it's a choice. It flourishes even amidst ruins. It's on the day when everything seems impossible that it proves its strength. While fear calculates, faith advances. And when you advance, doors respond. There are doors that don't open with human effort, but move with the light touch of trust. Your mind tries to understand, but your spirit already knows something is changing. Every time you believe, a lock gives way. Every time you choose to continue, a padlock breaks, and what was closed for years begins to unlock before you. I know they told you that you needed more time, more preparation, more strength, but true faith doesn't depend on that. It's born in the present moment, in the decision to take a step even without seeing the ground. When my people crossed the sea, it wasn't because the wind blew first, the wind blew while they walked. The path appeared while their feet moved. So it will be with you. Don't wait for everything to align before you believe. Believe, and everything will align. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Fear paralyzes you, but faith propels you forward. I am calling you to move the impossible. You look and see walls, but I see camouflage doors, waiting for the touch of your awakened spirit. When you declare your confidence, matter bends to the power of your voice. Because faith is not just belief, it is creation. I created the world through the word, and you were made in my image, therefore. When you believe, you also create paths. What you say in faith, I confirm in power. Many gave up because they thought I had fallen silent. But my silence was never absence, it was a test. I wanted to see if you would keep knocking, if you would keep believing. And now, because you have persisted, you will see what others have not seen. The time of no is over. The doors that once rejected you will now become witnesses to what faith can do. What was inaccessible will become familiar. What was impossible will become routine. You have been shaped by waiting, and now you are ready to cross over. When faith enters, the weight leaves. When confidence arrives, despair is silenced. Don't fight with your own hands anymore. Use what I've already given you. Believe, because there is no wall that can withstand the touch of faith. It is the language that heaven understands, the sound that opens portals, the password that unlocks the impossible. There are miracles that are already released, just waiting for the correct code, and that code is your I believe. As you listen, locks are breaking, chains are opening, new paths are being formed around your life. Opportunities that previously ignored you will begin to recognize you. People who seem distant will seek you out again, and environments that rejected you will become fertile ground for your presence. Because when faith manifests, everything that is yours draws closer. What fear scattered, faith gathers. What doubt destroyed, faith rebuilds. You are on a new level. Doors will not open by chance, they will open by command. Your faith is that command. And when the impossible opens, you will not say, "It finally happened." You will say, "Now I understand." Because faith is never late, it only waits for the right moment to act. Tap to like if you accept liberation and choose to live by faith. This gesture is your silent yes, your inner confirmation. When you act in faith, heaven witnesses and hell falls silent. From this moment on, no door will remain locked for you. You no longer need to force, only trust. Because faith doesn't push, it unlocks. And whoever learns to use this key lives with the doors eternally open before their purpose. What I do now is not visible to human eyes, but your spirit already perceives it. There is an open portal before you, an invisible threshold between what was and what will be. The sound you hear is not wind, it is the breath of the new entering your path. You have crossed the desert, broken the cycle, and now you tread on the ground of promise. This is not just a new chapter, it is a new book being written about you. What existed before loses its meaning, and what is born now does not carry the weight of the past. There is a realignment happening in every cell, in every thought, in every memory. Everything is reorganizing itself according to the purpose I designed for you from the beginning. A new beginning isn't a distant point in the future. It's the moment you realize the old no longer defines you. It's now. It's when your spirit takes a deep breath and recognizes that there's nothing left to prove, only to live. The portal that opens before you has no form, but it has direction. It doesn't show itself to the hasty, but reveals itself to those who trust. You don't need to see what's on the other side. Just cross over. What awaits you isn't uncertain, it's prepared. Each step you take is confirmed by my presence. Each decision you make in the light of faith is a step that brings you closer to your destiny. Do you feel this lightness? It's a sign that the weight is gone and your soul has found its rhythm again. For a long time, you walked on a terrain of broken memories, trying to rebuild with your hands what only the spirit could remake. Now, the reconstruction is internal. What was misaligned straightens out, and what was dead begins to pulsate again. It wasn't you who arrived here, it was I who guided you to this exact point. No step was wasted, not even the stumbles. Everything was part of the journey. You are going through something that cannot be explained, only felt. There is an anointing that envelops you like a new cloak. The old spiritual garment made of guilt, doubt, and fear no longer serves you. I remove it and clothe you with a new identity. You are a child of new beginnings. Your story is not marked by falls, but by the way you were lifted up. And every time you thought all was lost, I simply adjusted the timing so that the new would not be born prematurely. Now is the time. The portal is open and no one can close it. The portals of the Spirit have no physical doors. They open within you when you choose to trust in me. Your new beginning will not come from the outside. It will come from within. The world tries to measure what I do with human eyes, but what I do in you is eternal. People will see external changes, but the true miracle lies in your essence. I am erasing old traces, memories that made you doubt, thoughts that kept you trapped in the past. Everything that anchored you to the past loses power from this moment on. What will sustain you from now on is not memory, it is promise. You are now crossing the point of no return, and that is good. Don't look back. What you leave behind was no longer yours, and what awaits you is infinitely better. Behind you are shadows, but before you is light. Behind you are repetitions, but before you is direction. The portal is not just a passage, it is consecration. When you cross it, you cease to be merely a survivor and become an heir. What has awaited you for so long finally recognizes you. Everything begins to respond to you differently. People, places, doors, times. The universe reorganizes itself to the sound of your obedience. Something sacred is happening now. Do you feel the air change, as if the environment recognizes you? It is heaven confirming your crossing. What was once resistance transforms into a push. What was a blockage becomes an impulse. Nothing holds you back anymore. Not because you have become stronger, but because you have finally become free. True freedom is not the absence of struggle, it is awareness of purpose. Now you know who you are. And when someone discovers their own spiritual identity, the whole of hell loses the power to confuse them. The new beginning isn't noisy, it's silent, firm, invisible, but real. It's the moment when your spirit understands that everything that happened to you wasn't punishment, it was guidance. The pain wasn't loss, it was direction. What hurt you was the school where your faith learned to endure. Now, all of this makes sense. Faith brought you this far, and grace will sustain you from here on out. This is the instant the portal is complete. The old dissolves, and the new manifests. You are crossing something few dare to cross, the boundary between control and surrender. When you choose to trust, the invisible becomes visible. Crossing over is not about changing places, it's about changing your essence. A new beginning. Is this not a new scenario, but a new perspective on the same scenario? The world outside may remain the same, but you are no longer the same. Now you walk as one who knows they have been chosen. Your gait changes, your voice changes, your gaze changes. What once frightened you now respects you. Do not fear the unknown. The unknown is merely the future you have not yet known. And I am already there. You are traversing something I have already prepared. There is no danger in walking new paths when the guide is eternal. The road to a new beginning is safe because your guide is faithful. And when you look back, you will not see loss, you will see liberation. The portal closes behind you, not as punishment, but as protection. What is left behind no longer belongs to you. Go on, breathe, walk lightly. Everything I needed to do in you has already been done. Now, what will come will be the fruit of what was planted in faith. The invisible portal is completely open, and the crossing is complete. Your new season has begun, and the first step of this new time is the same one that brought you here. Trust, because every time you trust, a new portal opens, and every time you cross over, I await you on the other side. What has begun now is eternal. You have crossed the line between what hurt you and what heals you, between what held you captive and what liberates you, between who you were and who you have become. Don't look back at yesterday. It has already said goodbye. Live today, because it is here that the new dwells. And every time your heart feels the sound of my call again, remember, every portal I open is just another way of saying that I am still guiding you. And as long as you follow me, you will never be lost. What was yours was never lost. It was merely held back, awaiting the exact time of restitution. There are promises that I did not cancel, only paused. You looked at the delay and thought it was denial, but it was preservation. What is yours never left. My hands, I only waited for the moment when your heart would be ready to receive it without being lost. Now, that time has come. I release what was contained. I return what was interrupted, and I restore what was taken. What once seemed distant is returning with doubled force. Nothing I promised you has been forgotten. Every word spoken about your life remains alive before me. What seemed lost was simply kept in the storehouse of promise. There were blessings that could not yet be delivered because your soil was not ready. Now it is. And when the soil of the heart becomes fertile, everything that was planted begins to sprout at the same time. You will see old answers resurfacing like flowers that slept beneath the earth during winter. You thought they were dead, but they were only being strengthened at the roots. I am restoring the time that seemed stolen from you. Everything the enemy tried to interrupt will be returned with interest of grace and glory. The opportunities that closed, the paths that seemed finished, the doors that seemed locked, all will open again before you. Not because you tried harder, but because now your spirit has aligned with my voice. Your faith has matured, and this activates the movement of restitution. The time you thought you were wasting was not wasted time. It was time of preparation. I am restoring the sparkle in your eyes, the strength in your hands, and the sound of your hope. Nothing within you will remain empty. I restore relationships that seemed broken beyond repair, reconcile what seemed irreconcilable, and make the improbable happen before your eyes. Hearts are being inclined in your favor, messages are being written, and reunions are being prepared. I am the God who gives back, but I never give back the same. I always give back multiplied. What returns is not the same, it is better. And when you receive it, you will understand the reason for the wait. You thought time had robbed you, but time only matured what was yours. There are things that only shine after the test. There are gifts that only reveal themselves after pain. And what I am bringing back is not only what you had, it's what always belonged to you, but you didn't yet know how to carry it. The process didn't delay you, it qualified you. Now, when the new arrives, you will know how to keep it, because you were shaped by waiting. Your patience became the key to your return. What seemed like blockage was protection. What seemed like loss was ongoing replacement. What seemed like silence was the sound of heaven rearranging all the pieces. While you thought I was silent, I was moving hearts, shifting people, and preparing places. What was lost in the natural realm was preserved in the spiritual, and now the invisible begins to become visible. You will feel the difference. The atmosphere around you changes, doors respond, paths become lighter. What was heavy for you begins to flow naturally, because what is yours returns to you effortlessly. I will not let anything be lost of what I have promised you. Even what was unjustly taken will be restored. Divine justice does not forget, it matures, and the time of harvest has come. Every tear you have shed will be converted into provision. Every no you received will be replaced by a yes prepared by my will. Do not fear, what is coming is solid, lasting, and true. I myself ensure that what returns does not stray again. Share this promise with someone who is still waiting for restoration, because the same breath that is reaching you will also touch those who believe. When you share this word, you become a bridge between what heaven says and what the world needs to hear. Your life becomes a living testimony that what is withheld by God is not denied, it is prepared. And when it returns complete. Everything that was interrupted now begins again, and nothing will be the same, because the new thing I return is not replacement, it is consecration. What was yours returns in glory, and what returns will lift you up to where I have always been leading you. What was released in the heavens is now confirmed upon you. Everything that was a promise has become spiritual reality. This is the time of fullness, the time of now what was said is fulfilled. The cycle of waiting has ended, and what began as a seed now blossoms before my eyes. I am not a God of halves, I am a God of completeness. What I begin, I myself perfect. You are not halfway there, you are at the exact point where the promise is fulfilled. The number that marks this moment is the number of perfection, 7, and not just once, but repeated 4 times, because what I give you is complete in spirit, soul, body, and purpose. 7 is the sign of rest after the work is completed. It is the sound of the promise that ceases to be expectation and becomes experience. When you believe, you participate in this rest. The number now revealed to you, 7,777, is not just a sequence, it is a spiritual code. Each 7 is a layer of fulfillment. The first represents what has been restored, the second, what has been multiplied, the third, what has been confirmed, and the fourth, what is eternal. This is the seal that heaven places upon you. Completeness. What was fragment now unites. What was sketch now reveals itself. The time of trial is over. The time of result has arrived. You were prepared for this moment. You went through long processes because what was to come upon you needed a foundation. I didn't rush you, I nurtured you. And now that your inner self has been strengthened, I can release what was reserved. You are the field ready for harvest. 7 is the sound of the ripe harvest. It's not time to rush, it's time to receive. And in receiving, you will see how everything fits together: the pains that shaped you, the delays that protected you, the losses that purified you. Nothing was in vain. Every detail served to complete the picture. There is an anointing of completion descending upon you now. What once required effort will now flow naturally. What was blocked is unlocked. What was a dream becomes a testimony. Because when I say it's over, it's the end of the process and the beginning of the purpose. 7 is also the number of rest, and I lead you to rest in me. You will no longer fight with your own strength. Your part now is to remain in gratitude because the war is over. The enemy can no longer touch what has already been sealed. Listen to the sound of confirmation. It is the gentle sound of peace taking the place of anxiety. It is the sound of doors opening simultaneously. It is the sound of fulfillment echoing in your soul. Now is the time. 7 is the divine signature on your promises, and when I sign, nothing can be torn. What I write, hell cannot erase. Fullness has arrived. The old cycles have ended, and the new time is no longer an announcement. It is reality. You don't need to chase after what is yours. What is yours now finds you. This is the number of rest after work, the number of miracle after faith, the number of abundance after scarcity. You will see 7 as a constant reminder that the promise not only returned, it was fulfilled. Every time you see it, your spirit recognizes God has finished what he began, and what is complete in me is unshakable. No one can undo what heaven has confirmed. Write 7,777 as a prophetic seal that the promise has been fulfilled concerning you. This number is not superstition, it is a symbol of faith. When you declare it, you spiritually seal the cycle of waiting and activate the time of fullness. It is your amen before what has already been done. It is the sound of the Spirit saying, it is finished. 7 is the echo of my voice when I finished creation, and it is the same echo that now confirms your new time. Rest, celebrate, and live what is already yours. Because when 7 is complete, nothing is missing, nothing is superfluous. Everything is exactly where it should be. The time of spiritual visits is over. Now, what touches you is no longer a passing moment, it is a dwelling place. My presence does not come and go, it dwells. Everything that has been restored needs protection, and that protection is my constant presence. I am not only around you, I am within you. The promise fulfilled outside of you is visible, but the one fulfilled within is eternal. What surrounds you today is the seal that confirms that nothing will ever be the same again. You have been marked by my presence, and that mark no one can erase. For a long time, you thought I only came in moments of strength when you felt warmth, emotion, or revelation. But true presence doesn't depend on feeling, it depends on conviction. I never left, I only waited for your eyes to learn to perceive me in everyday life. I am in the details, in the breath that returns, in the mind that calms, in the hope that insists on remaining even after so many losses. When the heart learns to recognize me in everything, it lives in rest, because it knows it will never be alone again. Permanent presence is the greatest miracle anyone can receive, because everything material can crumble, but presence is what sustains everything that exists. When I dwell, nothing is lacking. When I walk with you, even the desert blooms. Seasons may change, but presence is the constant climate of the soul. You were not created to depend on signs. You were called to walk in the sound of my silence and in the warmth of my constancy. I am not a passing wind. I am air that remains. Now, your spirit is sealed. This means that external voices will no longer have the same power to confuse you. The seal is confirmation that you belong to me, and the enemy knows it. There is a light around you that the world does not see, but hell recognizes. It is the reflection of my dwelling in you. You are house, altar, and witness. Wherever you go, my presence goes with you. Wherever you set foot, I will leave marks of my favor. What was vulnerable is now guarded. What was unstable is now firm. Fear not the cloudy days any longer, for the cloud is also a sign of presence. I was with my people in the desert, in the form of cloud and fire shade during the day, warmth during the night. So it will be with you. In every season, the presence will manifest itself differently, but it will never cease to be. Even when everything seems silent, remember, I am still there. The seal of presence is invisible, but eternal. It is the constant reminder that the God who spoke continues to dwell within you. Presence doesn't depend on the environment, it depends on communion. It's not the place that brings me, it's the heart that invites me. And your heart is now an altar. I have sanctified your inner self, so that my spirit may move freely within you. Do not seek what you already carry. Do not look outside for what already lives within. The voice you hear in your innermost being is not thought, it is direction. The warmth you feel is love, not emotion. Everything you need to remain steadfast has already been given to you. The seal of presence is what keeps the miracle active. It is what makes the extraordinary become natural. With me, nothing wears out. Everything is renewed. You will no longer need confirmations to know that I am near. The certainty will be constant. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you rest, I will cover you. Wherever you move, I will precede you. You and I are now the way and the direction. The bond is established. The promise has not only been fulfilled, it has become a living presence. Click like and subscribe as an act of faith and perseverance in my voice. This gesture is not merely a symbol, it is a seal. It is your spiritual yes saying, I choose to remain. When you seal this decision, everything around you aligns with the sound of presence. I am not a God of passing moments, but a God of permanence. And what now dwells within you is what will sustain all that is yet to come. Presence does not fade, does not run out, does not divide. It is the eternal seal that confirms that heaven and your heart now walk in the same rhythm, and this rhythm will never cease. There are things that can only be seen when the light arrives. For a long time, you walked amidst the shadows without understanding the reason for your pain, the meaning of your losses, the purpose of your silences. But now, I show you what was previously hidden. The light does not come to expose you, it comes to explain. Everything that seemed confusing begins to align, and you realize that no tear was wasted. Every wait, every detour, and every pause had a purpose. The darkness was not punishment, it was the setting in which my revelation would be clearest. The light reveals not only the path, but the purpose of the path. You asked for direction, but first I needed to give you vision, because it's no use walking fast if the heart doesn't yet understand where it's going. Now, the veil lifts, and you realize that what you called delays were stepping stones. What you called a desert was a workshop. What you called solitude was an audition room where I trained your ear to distinguish my voice among 1,000 voices. Everything that hurt you has become a tool. The light that arrives now is not from outside, it is from within. It begins with you and spreads. You no longer need to chase after what shines, you have become light. And this is the revelation. The purpose was not distant, it was within you, dormant, waiting for my word. What you sought elsewhere was always kept in your spirit. Therefore, nothing has filled you until now, because your purpose is not found in the world, but revealed by my presence. When the light arrives, fear loses its place. Guilt loses its voice. Shame loses its power. Everything that was shadow dissolves before love. I don't show you the past to condemn you, but to heal you. And when you heal the origin, the cycle ends. The revelation isn't about what happened, it's about what will come from what happened. The light makes you understand that you weren't the end of the problem. You were the beginning of the solution. You were shaped to be the answer in places where many still live without clarity. The light reveals connections you didn't perceive before. People, encounters, words, moments, everything begins to fall into place. You see that nothing was by chance, and that even what hurt you led you here. The wounds were windows through which my glory entered. And now that the light has fully penetrated, no darkness can dominate you anymore. You become a bearer of clarity. Where there was confusion, there will be understanding. Where there was despair, there will be purpose. Where there was silence, there will be direction. Revelation is the beginning of wisdom. It is when you realize that what you asked of me has been answered, only in a different way than you expected. I never denied you what you asked for. I only gave you what you truly needed. What you considered loss was deliverance. What you considered delay was protection. What you considered an end was a beginning. This is the light that changes the way you look at everything. Now, the eyes of the Spirit are open. You will see the invisible and understand the inexplicable. Light doesn't erase the past, it redeems. It transforms even what was misused into an instrument of grace. You will live the coming days with discernment. Nothing will confuse you, because the light within you will discern every situation. Your why transforms into what for, and what was pain becomes direction. Now that the light is on, everything within you begins to respond to the truth. Your body, your mind, your soul, everything aligns with the frequency of purpose. You will walk lightly, because those who see do not stumble. I guided you through the shadows to teach you to value the light. And now that you possess it, it will never be extinguished again. Because those who have been illuminated by me do not depend on the sun, they carry the fire within themselves. Rest in peace. You see what many still seek, and the revelation I have given you will make you a guide for others. What was once a mystery is now a mission. And when you understand that you were enlightened to enlighten, your purpose will be complete. To look with faith is to see the invisible and still call it certain. It is to believe before understanding, to perceive God's hand in the silence, to see the path even when the ground has not yet appeared. You were trained to live by natural vision, but now I teach you to see with the eyes of the Spirit. The gaze of faith does not see what is lacking, it sees what has already been promised. It does not focus on the closed door, but on the key that has already been given. While fear looks at the obstacle, faith looks at the victory that lies beyond it. Faith doesn't blind you, it reveals you. It shows you what reason cannot yet comprehend. Many give up because they look at the circumstances and conclude it's the end. But those who see with faith understand that the end is merely the framework of the miracle. Faith changes the focus. It doesn't deny the problem, it simply places it in the right proportion in relation to the promise. Because when you look at me, what frightened you becomes small. Faith is the gaze that knows I never lose control, even when everything seems out of place. When I open the eyes of your spirit, you stop seeing yourself as a victim and begin to see yourself as a child. You begin to see purpose where before there was only pain. Faith makes you see the invisible acting in the visible. The same situation that once made you cry now becomes a reason for gratitude, because you realize how protected you were in every detail. What seemed like a setback was salvation. What seemed like loss was a path. You now see with the eyes of heaven, and whoever sees with faith never sees the same way again. The gaze of faith is not emotion, it is conviction. It remains firm even when there are no signs. It is the gaze that declares it will happen before it happens. It is the confidence that precedes the evidence. Faith does not wait for confirmation from the world. It carries the confirmation of the Spirit. And when your gaze aligns with mine, everything around you begins to adjust as well. The environment responds to your belief. The heavens move in the same direction as your gaze. That is why I tell you, do not look with fear anymore, look with faith. Faith sees what others call impossible and calls it a promise. It is the language of heaven, and every time you choose to look with faith, you translate what the invisible is saying. I taught you to walk. Now I teach you to see. When you look with faith, you see beyond what natural eyes allow. Your vision expands and your heart calms. Anxiety dissolves, because whoever sees the future in my hands does not fear the present. To look with faith is to recognize that something is in motion, even when everything seems still. It is to trust that what is hidden is being prepared. I am working in areas you do not yet perceive, and each day brings a sign, however small, that the plan is underway. Learn to see these signs: an unexpected encounter, a precise word, a peace that arrives without reason. None of this is coincidence, it is confirmation. Faith does not need proof, it is the very proof that I continue to work. And when the gaze of faith awakens within you, everything takes on a new color. You begin to see beauty even in ruins, because you perceive what is being born amidst the dust. The light that guides you doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. You stop asking for paths and begin to create paths with your gaze. Where there was once despair, now there is direction. Where there were once tears, now there is understanding. And that's when you discover the secret. The miracle begins when you choose to look again, but this time with faith. Tap like if this message opened your eyes and made you see with faith. This gesture is your silent Amen, your acknowledgement that you already see what you didn't understand before. It is a symbol of gratitude for all that has already been revealed. When you choose to look with faith, the impossible bows before you. The gaze that believes is the same gaze that creates, and from now on, you will see what you declare, because the vision of faith never fails when the heart is fixed on me. The light that reached you didn't just come for you, it came through you. Everything you've lived through, every pain you've endured, every tear you've shed was part of a preparation. Now that your eyes have been opened, I send you as a beacon to others who still walk in darkness. You were healed to heal, freed to free, enlightened to enlighten. The revelation doesn't end with you, it begins with you. What I've shown you is a seed, and seeds only fulfill their purpose when they are planted. I don't call you because you are perfect, but because you are a witness. Your scars are credentials of grace. They show that you have passed through the fire, but the fire has not consumed you. You know what it is to feel pain and still continue believing, and that is what makes you a legitimate channel of my light. There are people around you who are where you have been, trapped in the same doubts, fears, and silences. They don't need speeches, they need presence. And your presence will carry the same touch that transformed you. You were not restored to live in hiding. I raised you up to be a voice amidst the confusion, calm amidst the storm. Each of your words, when guided by faith, will be like a breath that awakens the sleeping spirit in others. My light moves from heart to heart, and now it will move through yours. Do not say, "But who am I?" Because you were chosen precisely because you have gone through everything you have gone through. The pain you endured gave you spiritual authority. The compassion that was born in you is the seal of my sending. The awakening that is now affecting you is collective. This is not a time for silence, it is a time for witnessing. I don't just want you to talk about me, I want you to show what I have done with you. Your way of life will be the greatest sermon the world will ever see. When you walk, you will walk in peace. When you speak, you will speak with gentleness. When you touch someone with love, my spirit will touch them too. Do not underestimate the reach of your light. A simple gesture from you can rekindle the faith of someone who has already given up. This is the call. Awaken others, not with noise, but with truth, not with force, but with presence. Light does not argue with darkness, it simply appears and the darkness disappears. Thus I will make you shine, not out of vanity, but for purpose. Because every time you share what you have lived, the power of liberation multiplies. Your story, which once shamed you, will be the testimony that liberates many. The enemy tried to silence you because he knew your voice carried liberation. But now it is too late. Your spirit has awakened, and your light can no longer be extinguished. Look around and you will see that there are lives waiting for your word. There are hearts waiting for your embrace. There are people who need to hear exactly what I told you. They don't need perfection, they need truth. Speak simply, act with love, and I will manifest myself in every gesture. Your life will be a constant channel of awakening. What flows from you today is life. You are the reflection of the grace you once asked for, and now I make you the answer to the prayers of others. Share this message with someone who needs a spiritual awakening. Become a bearer of the light that awakened you. This gesture is more than an act. It is the fulfillment of your purpose. When you share, you don't just send a message, you send hope, faith, and life. You become an extension of my movement, a propagator of the same fire that rekindled you. And with each heart you reach, your light will become more intense, because whoever shares what they have received is never empty. They live filled with the presence that continues to multiply in every awakened soul. I did not call you to serve me out of fear, but to walk with me out of love. You are not an employee of heaven, you are a child of the promise. For a long time, you thought you needed to earn my favor, as if my presence were a reward for effort. But the love I gave you is not earned, it is received. I did not choose you for performance, I chose you for identity. You are mine. And that does not change with your mistakes, because sonship is not lost when the child stumbles. What you are in me is eternal. You were not created to live serving me from afar, obeying orders without understanding the heart that gives them. You were created to walk beside me, hear the sound of my voice, and feel the touch of my hand. The servant executes, the child participates. The servant acts out of duty, the child acts out of love. I don't want you merely obedient, I want you intimate. I want you to call me Father freely, without fear, without guilt, without distance, because my love is not conditional, it is home. And whoever returns home is never received with judgment, but with celebration. I saw when you felt unworthy, when you told yourself you weren't good enough to be called my son. I saw the weight of your guilt, the attempt to compensate for mistakes with good deeds, the search for a forgiveness I already gave you. Son, when I forgave you, I didn't put you on a waiting table. I put you back at the table. You always had a place there. While you thought you were far away, I watched you from a distance, waiting for the moment you would look back and realize that the way back was never closed. The difference between a servant and a son is that the servant works for sustenance, but the son inherits by right. Everything that is mine is yours. You don't need to prove your worth, just remain. When you act like a servant, you ask permission for what already belongs to you. When you act like a son, you enjoy it. The enemy wants you to always feel indebted, but the cross has already paid your debt. You don't owe me, you have me. It's no longer a matter of doing enough. It's a matter of believing that you have already been accepted. Your prayer no longer needs to begin with fear, but with confidence. Don't say, "If it is your will," when I have already revealed to you that it is. Learn to converse with me. As one speaks to the Father you have always longed to hear. There is nothing I do not know about you, and yet I call you mine. This is sonship love that does not waver in the face of truth. I know you inside and out, and yet I embrace you. My child, what separated you from me no longer exists. The bars were lies erected by guilt, but I broke them. Now you are free to live in me and with me. Learn to rest in this truth. The servant works to be accepted. The child serves because he is loved. Service is not an obligation. It is an expression of gratitude. When you do something out of love, it rises as worship, and what is born of worship remains. Do not fear the future, for he who has a father does not walk blindly. I will guide you as I always have, but now I want you to trust without fear. The inheritance I gave you is not made of things, but of presence, and he who lives in presence never lives in lack. I gave you a name, an identity, and a destiny, and all of this is secure in me. You no longer need to ask for acceptance, only respond with surrender. Enroll yourself as an act of permanence in this voice, as one who says, I choose to live as a child and remain in the living word. This gesture is symbolic but spiritual. It is your silent amen, saying that you accept the love you once doubted you deserved. You are a child, not a servant. You are a part, not a requester. You are an heir, not a guest. From now on, speak to me as one speaks to the Father who has always been here. Live in freedom, walk in confidence, and remember, the servant awaits orders, but the child understands the heart. And it is to the heart that I have called you. My child, everything that is mine is yours. I'm not just talking about things that can be touched, but about realities that manifest through faith. Your inheritance is not in vaults, but in dimensions. What I have given you is invisible to human eyes, but palpable in the spirit. You are heir to what the world does not understand: peace amidst war, joy amidst loss, abundance amidst the desert. Your inheritance is the ability to live in the natural with the power of the supernatural. You are the bearer of something that time does not consume, because you were made to carry the eternal. I did not make you heir to fleeting riches, but to permanent promises. Gold and silver belong to me, but what I have given you is greater than that: the power to transform the environment where you are. When your spirit aligns with mine, everything invisible begins to take shape around you. The inheritance I gave you is my presence. It is the fire that never goes out, the word that does not return empty, the anointing that never ages. And this inheritance no one can take from you, because what comes from me cannot be stolen, only multiplied. You have inherited the right to speak and see what you speak come to pass. You have inherited the power to impose peace upon chaos, to declare life where there is death, to open doors with the word of faith. You are a co-heir with Christ who conquered the world, and if he conquered, you too will conquer. Inheritance is not just a promise, it is identity. Do not wait for tomorrow to live what already belongs to you today. I do not give you only the future, I give you the present. Your inheritance is continuous, renewed with each sunrise. When you understand what you have, you stop asking and start manifesting. Many ask for what they already possess because they haven't yet understood that the invisible is more real than the visible. You have already been blessed in all heavenly realms. You have already been sealed, marked, and clothed in glory. All that remains is to believe. Belief is the key that activates the inheritance. The heir who doubts lives as a slave, but the son who believes reigns with authority. You were not created to live begging for crumbs. You were made to distribute abundance. The invisible is where I keep my greatest treasures. And now I teach you how to access them. When you pray, the invisible moves. When you forgive, the invisible manifests. When you worship, the invisible responds. It's not magic, it's spiritual mastery. The inheritance is within you, and it reveals itself every time you act in faith. The enemy tries to distract you with what is lacking, so that you forget what you already have. But I remind you now, everything that is mine is within you, and everything that is within you can transform the world around you. You are an heir to the promise that never expires, heir to the hope that never fails, heir to the peace that the world cannot take away. The inheritance is invisible because it is eternal, and I have entrusted you with this eternity, not for you to keep, but to release. Inheritance is not possession, it is flow. The more you share, the more it grows. The more you give, the more is added to you. Because you were called not only to have, but to act. When you walk, you carry the kingdom. When you speak, the kingdom speaks to you. When you believe, the kingdom moves. Don't look at what you don't have, look at what you carry. Within you lies the power to change atmospheres, heal wounds, and rekindle hope. What I have placed in you is a living seed, and this seed does not die, it only spreads. When you say yes to your inheritance, you open spiritual channels that bless generations. Your life is the testament of my love in action. Comment: I am an heir to promises, and declare this truth about yourself. This act is more than words, it's a decree. When you write, heaven confirms. When you trust, the invisible materializes. You are not a beggar, you are an heir. And heirs don't live waiting, they live manifesting. The inheritance is already active. Walk with this awareness. You not only receive the kingdom, you carry it. And wherever you go, the invisible will become visible. There is a smile on your face now. It is my smile. Not a smile of judgment, but a smile of joy. I rejoice to see how much you have grown, how much you have endured, how much you have chosen to remain even when the path seemed dark. I saw every silent battle, every prayer made in tears, every gesture of faith when no one else believed. And today, I look at you and smile, because you have become what I always knew you would be. Your heart, shaped by pain and strengthened by faith, is now a reflection of my love in action. You were molded in fire, but you were not burned. You went through the desert, but you emerged with springs within you. And now, each step you take exudes the fragrance of overcoming. When I see you, I don't see what you did wrong. I see what you learned. My smile is not a reward for perfection. It is recognition of your constancy. I do not seek flawless children. I seek sincere hearts. And your heart has learned to love me even without understanding, to trust even without seeing, to worship even amidst waiting. That is spiritual maturity. You no longer need to strive to prove that you love me. I already know, and my smile is the confirmation of that. It is the sign that I rejoice in you, not only for what you do, but for who you have become. You are living proof that faith transforms everything it touches. Every morning you wake up and decide to continue, heaven celebrates. Every time you forgive when it would be easier to give up, the angels record it. And I, your father, bow down and whisper, "Look, my child, you still believe." When I blessed you, I did so not merely out of necessity, but out of pleasure. Because true love needs no reason, it simply flows. My pleasure is to see you grow in peace, to see you laugh again, to see you sleep without fear. Each of your smiles is a reflection of mine. I don't just want to use you, I want to see you happy. The kingdom is not made only of service, it is made of joy, and that joy now blossoms again within you. You are not merely surviving, you are flourishing. When I look at you, I see a testament. Hell tried to silence you, but your faith shouted louder. They tried to break you, but you became a refuge for others. My smile upon you is a sign of approval, but also of a renewed promise. I still have plans you can't even imagine. What you've lived through so far was just the rehearsal. Now the complete song begins. There's a new song written about your life, and it begins to play when your heart calms down. Do you feel this peace? It's the sound of my smile in the form of presence. God's smile is not a distant gesture, it's an atmosphere. When I smile, the heavens open, the atmosphere changes, the weight falls away. God's smile is invisible anointing, it's silent favor, it's a gentle breeze that blows direction. When I smile, what was blocked flows, what was dark is illuminated, what seemed dead begins to pulsate again. And today, that smile envelops you. It covers you like a cloak, it renews you from within. My smile is the answer to your oldest prayers, the one you made without words, only with a tired sigh I heard it. And now I answer not with words, but with presence. The answer doesn't come in the form of a sentence, it comes in the form of peace. That's why you feel relief without knowing why. It's the sign that the war has ended and the favor has begun. Tap like as a sign of gratitude and appreciation for this smile on your face. This gesture is more than digital, it's spiritual. It's your thank you to the God who never stopped believing in you. When you click, it's as if you're saying, I receive your smile upon me. And this simple act awakens something new, because whoever recognizes love attracts more love. My smile doesn't fade, doesn't distance itself, doesn't stop. It remains upon you like a constant light, reminding you every day, I still rejoice in you, and my pleasure is to see you shine. The time of waiting has come to an end. Everything that was watered with tears now blossoms before me. You planted in silence, believed even without proof, and now you will see the fruit of your trust. I bring you to the harvest time, the time when the invisible becomes visible, when what was secret is revealed. The seeds you sowed in faith are sprouting, even those you forgot. None were lost. Every gesture, every prayer, every renunciation was fertile ground in my eyes. And now, everything that was a promise begins to materialize. The harvest is a testament to my time. Therefore I tell you, it is not luck, it is the season. The moment has arrived when heaven and earth align in your favor. Everything that seemed still begins to move. Answers come from all sides, because obedience always generates a return. You have sown trust, and you will reap guidance. You have sown faithfulness, and you will reap honor. You have sown tears, and you will reap laughter. This is the perfect cycle of faith. Nothing done in me returns empty. I saw when you planted amidst the pain, when you decided to continue even without strength. I saw when you gave what you had, believing that I would multiply it. I saw when you loved me without understanding, and that praise was the most powerful seed. Now I show you the result. The field of your life is full. The wind blows, and the sound you hear is that of ripe ears of corn. The harvest is ready. and you will reap not only what you sowed, but what others failed to reap, because I do not waste fertile ground. The time for manifestation has arrived. Dreams that seem distant are beginning to take shape. You will see doors that were once closed, opening easily. You will see old promises fulfilled unexpectedly. What was blocked unlocks, what was delayed accelerates. I remove the weight of waiting and clothe you in the lightness of accomplishment. Your faith was not in vain, your hope was not ignored. This is the time when not yet becomes now is the moment. But remember, harvesting requires prepared hands. I have given you abundance, but also the responsibility to care. Each blessing is a seed for the next cycle. What I give you today is not just a reward, it is a sending forth. You will harvest to share, you will receive to multiply. Everything that comes into your hands now is purpose in motion. The time of harvest is also the time of overflowing, and when the overflowing arrives, no one can contain it. Don't look at what hasn't yet come to pass, celebrate what has already blossomed. Gratitude is the soil where new miracles are born. The harvest is not the end, it's the beginning of a new level of abundance. You will experience the fulfillment of the words I have declared over you. The ancient promises will take shape. What was dormant awakens. The cycle of waiting ends, and the cycle of fulfillment begins. Everything that was once a dream will now be a testament. You will see people seeking you out to understand the reason for your turnaround. You will see favor reach you where you were previously forgotten. You will see what was little multiply. The harvest is not small, because the time of limitation is over. What once depended on effort now flows by grace. What was closed, I myself open. You will not need to prove anything, the fruit will speak for you. Those who saw you crying will see your laughter. Those who saw you in silence will hear your song. Comment on 7,777 as a prophetic seal of this time of harvest and fulfillment. This number is the spiritual sound of "it is done." When you write, you confirm in heaven what has already begun on earth. It is your decree of agreement with the abundance that is coming. I am sealing this season with fullness. What was promised is being fulfilled, and what was hope is now becoming reality. You are living in the time of manifestation, and all that was sown in faith will be reaped with honor. What happened to you wasn't luck, it was purpose. The miracle you experienced isn't just an answer, it's a sign. I did it not only to bless you, but to make you a living witness to what faith is capable of producing. You were chosen to show the world that there is still power in believing. Your testimony isn't about you, it's about me. It's proof that I still fulfill promises, still restore stories, still transform impossibilities into beginnings. For a long time, you thought the miracle was the end of the journey. But the miracle is only the beginning of the mission. I didn't just give you a result, I gave you a voice. And now, all that remains is for you to tell what you saw and felt. What I did in your life will become the key to unlocking other lives. There are people who need to hear what happened to you to remember that they too can overcome. What honors me is not silence, but testimony. To speak is to multiply the miracle. When you witness, the miracle expands. What seemed like just a personal blessing becomes a bridge for others to cross the valley. Your God did for me is a seed planted in the heart of someone who has lost hope. Faith is contagious, and your story is the holy contagion that heaven is using. Do not keep what I have done to yourself. Silence kills the hope of those who still seek me. Speak with love, with truth, with humility, and you will see the power repeated in every life you hear. Some people think that witnessing is about exposing yourself, but it's not. It's about glorifying, Testimony doesn't reveal weakness, it reveals faithfulness. It shows that even without understanding, you continued to believe. It shows that what seemed impossible was overcome not by your strength, but by my grace. Every word you say about what happened becomes an echo of salvation. Every account is a light lit in another heart. You can't imagine how many are on the verge of giving up, and your God can do it for you too, will be the rope that pulls them back to faith. I called you a witness because I saw your surrender, your process, your pain, and your rebirth. Everything you went through has a purpose, to show that there is no hole so deep that my hand cannot reach. It shows that I am a God of restoration, not just of promises. Each of your falls now serves as a learning step for others. What once hurt you is now a tool. What once humiliated you is now an authority. And every person who hears your story will feel the same presence that lifted you up. To bear witness is not merely to speak, it is to relive with purpose. It is to look back and say, "He was there with me all along." It is to understand that even the delays had a reason, even the silences were guidance. Testimony is the mirror where my glory is reflected. When you open your mouth to tell, heaven manifests itself again. I myself will be present in every word you speak, and wherever you recount what I have done, others will feel the same touch, the same comfort, the same strength. Hell fears testimonies because they break invisible chains. The devil wants your silence because he knows your story sets you free. But I tell you, speak. Speak without fear, because your voice carries spiritual authority. The miracle didn't just make you a victor, it made you a messenger. And whoever speaks in my name never speaks in vain. What comes out of your mouth now has the power to heal, restore, and rekindle faith in places that seemed extinguished. Share this testimony and be a channel of liberation. Spread the power of God through your story. Every click is a seed. When you share, the miracle multiplies. The same power that reached you begins to reach others. The testimony is the echo of the miracle, and the more it echoes, the stronger it becomes. I gave you this story not to keep to yourself, but to spread. And as long as you do that, new manifestations will come, because whoever shares the miracle lives in constant renewal of glory. Nothing in heaven is still. While you think, I am already moving. While you pray, I am already preparing. While you sleep, angels rise and paths are aligned. There is constant movement around you, even when your eyes see silence. Heaven never rests, because love never rests. And my love is active, alive, operating in every detail of your story. You do not live by chance, you live under divine coordination. Everything that seems delayed is synchronicity. Everything that seems absent is strategy. When you think nothing is happening, the invisible works in depth. Heaven has rhythms that human time cannot measure. What is waiting for you is construction for me. I prepare people, circumstances, paths. I remove from your path what could hurt you. I place in your path what will make you grow. There are angels walking ahead of you, clearing the ground, removing stones you didn't even know existed. And while you complain about not seeing movement, heaven moves in silence, and silence is the sound of my organization. You don't need to understand how, just trust that it happens. When you surrender control to me, the heavens move with precision. Nothing is lost, nothing is delayed, nothing is confused. Everything follows the rhythm of the promise. I don't improvise, I govern. And what I govern does not fail. There are angels holding doors for the exact moment you pass through. There are answers being written at the right time. There are favors being redirected in your direction. What is yours is coming, and nothing can divert it because all of heaven is in your favor. The winds that blow are not random, they are commands. I send them to remove what hinders the flow of purpose. What the enemy planned to interrupt, I transform into momentum. There are situations that will move suddenly, and it will not be coincidence, it will be intervention. Heaven acts swiftly when faith remains constant. Your trust is the code that accelerates movement. When you rest in me, I move for you. When you stop fighting with your own strength, the heavenly army springs into action. What you don't realize is that there is movement even in stillness. Even the time when nothing seems to happen is part of the divine dance. I pause you so that the plot doesn't break. Heaven is an orchestra, and every note of your life has its rightful place in the melody. I move the waters even when the surface seems calm. I change hearts even when the words haven't yet been spoken. I open doors silently so that the enemy doesn't notice. I act in secret, and the secret is my most powerful field of operation. You are at the center of a movement that never stops. I send resources, connections, ideas, and opportunities from places you can't even imagine. The favor that comes to you is not a coincidence, it's an answer. What seemed closed will open, what seemed dead will breathe, what seemed distant will draw near, because heaven moves to the sound of your faith. And when you believe, the spiritual universe reorganizes itself in your favor. Therefore, do not fear what you do not yet see. If heaven is silent, it is because the movement is too profound to be perceived. When the time comes, everything will be revealed as if it had always been in the right place. What seems out of order today will soon show that it was part of the plan. No step is wasted, no delay is a failure. Everything is precise, everything is eternal. Heaven moves through love, and love never fails. While you ask yourself, will it happen? Heaven is already answering, it's already happening. The angels don't stop, time doesn't slip away, purpose never misses its destination. What is yours is on its way, and every second brings it closer. Learn to rest amidst the movement, because faith doesn't need to see, only to trust. Look up now and give thanks, because heaven continues to move for you. This simple gesture is spiritual recognition, your I know you are working. The celestial movement is not distant, it is personal. It is God's love in the form of constant action. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven works for you. And even when it seems late, the divine clock always arrives at the exact time. My love has no end. It never tires. It never runs out. It never stops. You may change your path, but my love continues to follow you. You may be silent, but my love continues to call you. You may fall, but my love always lifts you up. I do not give up on you. What I created in you was made to last eternally, and what begins in love cannot be destroyed. The love that comes from me is not a memory, it is presence. It surrounds you, envelops you, and rebuilds you every time you think it's over. This is the return of the love that persists, the same love that sought you when no one saw you, that forgave you when you didn't forgive yourself, that sustained you when nothing else made sense. I loved you before you understood what love is. And even when you questioned my absence, it was my love that prevented you from giving up. Everything you went through was part of a path designed to bring you closer to the source. Love didn't lose you, it guided you. You were taught by pain, but saved by love. There is something within you that has always recognized my voice. Even when the world confused to you, there was an echo within you that said, there is still something greater. That echo is me, calling you back to the place where it all began. My heart, that is where you return now. The love that comes from me is eternal movement. It not only heals, it restores the original form of who you are. You were shaped by love, and you will only be complete when you return to it. The love that persists is patient. It waits as long as it takes for your heart to open. It doesn't force, it invites. It doesn't demand, it welcomes. Every time you think I pushed you away, in truth, I was drawing you back. Every detour was a curve of my love, repositioning you on the path. I love you too much to allow wrong choices to distance you from an eternal destiny. My love is correction, it is direction, it is an embrace. It doesn't pursue you to hold you captive, it pursues you to set you free. There are things that only love can rebuild, and I am rebuilding them now. The areas of your heart that were broken, I fill with presence. The memories that hurt you, I transform into testimony. The losses that marked you, I convert into purpose. The love that comes from me does not erase the past, it redeems it. And when you understand this, the weight dissolves and peace returns. You begin to realize that nothing was in vain because love always wins. The love that surrounds you today is the same love that created you, the same love that will sustain you until the end. It is a cycle that never closes, a flame that never goes out. Even when everything ends, it begins again. And that is why this is not the end of your story. It is only the beginning of a deeper love. I return to you not because I lost you, but because I never stopped having you. Love doesn't need to search for what never left. I continue to love you with the same intensity as the first day. With each sunrise, my love is renewed upon you. It awaits you when you wake, covers you when you sleep, and guides you as you breathe. When you feel alone, it is love that speaks in silence. When you feel tired, it is love that sustains you. And when you finally understand this, you realize that you never needed to run to find me, only to stop and feel me. Click like and subscribe as an act of faith, remaining in this love that never gives up on you. This gesture is your yes to returning love, your seal of spiritual continuity. It is a way of saying, I want to remain where love found me, because this love does not end. It circulates, and each time it returns, it comes stronger, purer, closer. I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, and my love is the link that connects the two. Nothing can separate you from it, not time, not fear, not error. Where my love arrives, the end transforms into a new beginning. My voice never falls silent. Even when everything around you is silent, there is a sound that remains. It is the echo of my presence within you. You think silence is absence, but silence is the environment where my voice rests. I continue speaking even when you don't understand. I speak through the peace that persists, the comfort that comes from nothing, the courage that arises when you had no more strength. My voice is not limited to words. It manifests itself in a direction. When your soul is still, you hear it. When you trust, you feel it. There is a divine sound that dwells within your spirit. It doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. It's the sound that awakens you on difficult mornings, that calls you back when you're about to give up, that reminds you who you are when the world tries to confuse you. That is my voice. It doesn't speak loudly, because love doesn't shout. Love whispers. It speaks at the right time, with the exact intensity, and always with the same purpose, to remind you that you are not alone. How many times have you asked yourself, God, are you still there? And I answered with gestures, not sounds. Every miracle disguised as coincidence was my voice saying, yes, I am still here. Every closed door was a warning disguised as protection. Every detour that irritated you was a push that saved you. My voice is in everything that preserves your purpose. You don't need to wait for thunder to recognize me. Just take a deep breath and listen to your heart. it still beats to the rhythm of heaven. I speak in the pauses, in the intervals between one breath and another. I speak when a tear falls, and I speak when laughter returns. I speak when you think you have forgotten me, and I speak even more when you remember me. My voice does not fade when you distance yourself. It only changes tone. It calls you sweetly, waits for you patiently, envelops you constantly. Even when the world tries to stifle the sound, it continues to echo within you because the presence never left. It only awaited the moment to be perceived. You no longer need to run to find me. I am within you. My voice is like an underground river. Even when the surface is dry, the water continues to flow beneath. It moves your spirit, cleanses your thoughts, and calms the storms. Hearing my voice is not a matter of gift. It is a matter of surrender. When you are silent, it speaks. When you rest, it guides. When you doubt, it reminds you. My voice is the invisible bond that connects you to eternity. Some hear but don't understand, and some understand without needing to hear. Because my voice doesn't speak only in sound, it speaks in presence. It's in the gaze of those who love you, in the hug that arrives at the right time, in the word that finds you at the exact moment. With every gesture of care that surprises you, I speak. With every new chance I give you, I repeat, I am still with you. Nothing can silence the sound of the love that created you. What connects you to me is permanent. Even when you think you've lost the connection, it remains alive. Faith is the thread that keeps the frequency open. Therefore, nourish it. Read what I've told you. Remember what I've already done. Speak to me without haste. I don't seek formalities. I seek sincerity. When you seek me with your heart, the voice reveals itself clearly. The sound of my presence is not meant to frighten you. It's meant to align you. It guides you back to your purpose and teaches you the path to peace. The sound within you is stronger than the noise of the world. Learn to distinguish my tone. It always brings calm, never confusion. When you feel restless, remember, my voice does not push, it guides. It does not demand, it invites. It does not condemn, it restores. And the secret to continuing to hear is simple. Remain in me. Because whoever walks beside me does not depend on external signs. They carry the eternal sound within themselves. He comments, I keep hearing your voice, Lord, and confirms that this presence remains alive in you. This gesture is more than words. It's a spiritual echo. It's your heart responding to my call. It's the sound rising to heaven saying, I still hear you, I still follow you, I still love you. And when heaven hears this, the cycle begins again. Because the voice that dwells within you is the same one that called you in the beginning, and each time you recognize it, love awakens anew. Nothing you've experienced ends here. Everything that seems like an end is only the beginning of something new that I have already started. Time is not a straight line, it's a spiral. Each turn brings you closer to the origin, but at a higher, deeper, more awakened level. What rises returns transformed. What departs returns matured. What dies is reborn with greater strength. So is my love. It has no end, only cycles of new beginnings. And you, who were molded by fire, are now pure gold, ready to live eternity in motion. The new beginning is not the opposite of the end. It is its revelation. The love that brought you here returns with new intensity, and what seemed like a pause is, in fact, an impulse. Every pain you faced was a seed. Every silence you endured was prepared soil. Every prayer made in tears was a root growing in the invisible. You thought I had stopped speaking, but it was time to teach you to listen to the sound of your own heart, for it is there that my voice dwells. Now that you have learned to listen to the silence, you are ready to understand the call. I led you down paths that seemed crooked, but were shortcuts to your development. I made you cross deserts so that you could find water within yourself. I allowed absence so that you could value presence. I made you lose so that you could learn the value of what cannot be bought. Everything you experienced was guidance, even when you didn't understand it. The love that sustained you in the darkness now pushes you towards the light. And when you understand this, fear dissolves because faith takes the place of doubt. Return, but return differently. Return with the wisdom of one who knows the journey was necessary. Starting over is not going backward, it's maturity. It's revisiting the same point in the journey with transformed eyes. I bring you back to the origin, to the moment when your spirit heard my voice for the first time and knew something greater is calling me. That sound still echoes within you. It's not new, it's eternal. It's the sound that calls you back whenever you stray, and it's that sound that now rekindles your essence. You thought time held you back, but it matured you. You thought the fall stained you, but it taught you humility. You judged the pauses as failures, but in them I forged your patience. Each step was necessary, and when you look back, you will realize that each curve, each weight, each loss, all was an invisible hand shaping you for the present. You are not the same person who began this journey. You are stronger, more serene, more sensitive to my presence. There is a sound enveloping you at this moment. It is the same sound that awakened you in the beginning, when everything was a promise. It is the sound of my voice saying, take a deep breath, allow this moment to reach your heart. Do you perceive it? The same words return, but now you understand them with your spirit. What once seemed like an invitation is now a direction. What once sounded distant now vibrates within you. I haven't changed the message, you have simply matured enough to understand it. A new beginning is a gift for those who endured the end without giving up. It doesn't arrive with trumpets, but with peace. It's the moment when the heart stops fighting against time and decides to trust in the divine rhythm. A new beginning happens when fear gives way to faith, when the past ceases to be a wound and transforms into strength. This is the point where the spirit understands that everything it lost, in truth, only changed form. Because love is never lost, it recycles itself into grace. Do you notice the atmosphere around you? The air changes, time slows down, and presence becomes tangible. It's heaven breathing with you. A new beginning isn't announced, it manifests itself. It appears in small things. A sudden peace, a memory that ceases to hurt, a thought that brings clarity. It's proof that love never left its place, it only waited for you to return. And now that you've returned, everything aligns again. The calling hasn't changed, it has only matured. I continue to speak the same words, but now they echo with new power. What once frightened you now strengthens you. What was once doubt is now conviction. The same God who waited for you in the shadows now walks with you in the light. And when you hear my voice again, you will know it is not a new beginning. It is the continuation of the same love on another level of consciousness. The cycle closes, but love remains. And when love remains, nothing truly ends. I envelop you once more with the sound of creation, the sound that gave birth to the universe, and that now is reborn within you. This new beginning is the movement of eternal love. It reminds you that everything begins and ends in me. Every breath is a beginning, every prayer is a bridge, every thank you is a new seed. You are at the exact point where the end transforms into an invitation. Everything that has been said, lived, and learned now comes together in one sound, the sound of my presence within you. And this sound takes you back to the beginning. It doesn't push you back, it propels you upward toward eternity. Take a moment to be silent and simply give thanks. The new beginning has already started within you. Gratitude is the key that opens the new cycle. When you give thanks, heaven understands that you have understood. And when you understand, love multiplies. What seemed like the last chapter is only the preface to what is to come. Take a deep breath. Feel the peace. Listen again to the sound that has guided you from the beginning. Take a deep breath. Allow this moment to reach your heart. And so the cycle is complete. The end transforms into a new beginning. The new beginning leads you back to love, and love leads you back to the origin. And the sound that started it all continues to echo within you in time and eternity.